Okay, yeah.
Okay, it started.
Okay, so pretty standard. Just I'm gonna do an introduction like when I after I cut a video. Um, first, do you feel like there is a link between the old Lincoln Douglas debates and the current high school and college forums? And if so, in what ways?
And a link between wait, so a link between old Lincoln Douglas and high school Lincoln Douglas as it exists now?
Yeah. So like the first Lincoln Douglas debates that happened between for the senator spot.
I don't think that there's any real connection at all. For the reason that, well, there are actually a couple reasons. First is that Lincoln Douglas debate on the national circuit is significantly faster. I highly doubt that Abraham Lincoln and Stephen Douglas spoke at 400 words per minute. Um, Although the speaking similarity would be more apparent for local circuits of Lincoln Douglas. Second is that although the original Lincoln Douglas debates did address ethical questions, which is why our activity is called Lincoln Douglas debate, the way in which they approached those ethical questions was kind of different, in that they did not take the form of a comprehensive ethical theory, like utilitarianism or Kantianism or virtue ethics, which people would use in Lincoln Douglas today to go about justifying their affirming or negating of the topic at hand.
So do you feel like our current debates are just like the first ethical question just transformed into first spreading and more complex ethical theories?
Yeah.
All right. So, second, what is the impact of the legacy like that the first Lincoln Douglas debates had on essentially either first the high school debate culture or and second the nation as a whole?
Well, I don't know if the original Lincoln Douglas debates really had much of an impact on debate culture at present. I did write an article for Victory Briefs where I kind of this was meant to be comical, but I did provide some interesting insights of the original Lincoln Douglas debates in relation to debate today, and I made some jokes about how there was a structural skew with the speech times. And also the number of speeches. Douglas was able to give more speeches than Lincoln, I think it was. Um, and I guess some other differences too between the Lincoln Douglas debates of old and the Lincoln Douglas debates of today is that the Lincoln Douglas debates of old were significantly longer, in that the speeches would go on for hours and hours, whereas the average Lincoln Douglas debate is 42 minutes. Uh, Not counting the amount of time that the judge takes to mentally deliberate about, who they want to vote for, the time spent explaining and justifying their decision. Uh, I don't really think overall that the Lincoln Douglas debates of old have really significantly influenced the current Lincoln Douglas debates, except in name.
All right. And do you feel as though like the Lincoln Douglas debates had a very big impact on how the nation viewed politics as a whole or not?
Well, my understanding of how the debates went, from the understanding that I garnered from it in reading the transcripts of the debates, which was the historical research that I had done to write my article, um, I can definitely see how the Lincoln Douglas debates had an impact on how people understood, I guess, the question of slavery, and also social equality between white and black Americans. I think that the debates were more a reflection of the differing views in society rather than something that had uniquely altered the configuration of society at the time. I think an example is that what not many people know is that although Abe Lincoln uh, had wanted to emancipate the slaves, he made it very clear in the Lincoln Douglas debates that he did not believe in complete social equality between white and black Americans, although he was in favor of abolition. Lincoln was of the view that black people didn't deserve the right to vote, for example. Uh, and obviously, with the civil rights movement, we had seen the ability to vote and the disenfranchisement that arises from not being able to vote being one of the central civil rights issues for Black American movements led by Martin Luther King, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, etc. I don't mean to digress. Essentially, I think that the Lincoln Douglas debates were more a reflection of the differing views of society rather than something that may have changed people's minds. And I think that that's true for a lot of political and presidential debates too that are televised. Well, in the case of Lincoln and Douglas, not televised, but with a very large audience. Uh, Usually, those debates are not judged the way that competitive debates are judged. It's just the supporters of one candidate believe that that candidate won the debate. The supporters of the other candidate believe that that candidate won the debate. Um, Although it's possible that the debates that we see might have changed the minds of someone who were undecided, but that's something that we don't really have the evidence for in terms of the Lincoln Douglas debates in 1848. I mean, there might be primary sources that say, "Oh, I saw Lincoln and Douglas, and they changed my mind on things," but I'm not aware of any of that.
All right, cool. So, why is doing like the current high school like national or local circuit Lincoln Douglas debate like beneficial to students? Can they grasp any real world skills that can?
Yeah, there are innumerable real world benefits to having participated in debate. For one thing, I feel that I have become significantly smarter as a result of participating in debate. I feel that through all the research that I've done, through the competitive incentive to become very knowledgeable at explaining, to become very knowledgeable about a position, and also to become very skilled at explaining an argument and defending the argument in response to criticisms of said arguments that arise from the academic literature. The skills that you get from researching, from thinking logically, from constructing an argument, I think all of those are really important real world skills that help us become political advocates later in life, whether on a very large scale or within our communities. Um, I do think that debate also helps people become more informed citizens because you sort of get the skill and the desire to learn as much as you can about what's going on. I think that especially comes from research. And I also think that it enables people to have this sort of intellectual tolerance where they can understand that there are always two sides or more to an issue, and that therefore it's essential that we keep an open mind and try our best to form a well-crafted perspective about something, because I think that a lot of partisanship that exists in the United States and elsewhere can be reduced to an inability for either side of the political spectrum to understand that there is another side and that it is possible that somebody could hold a reasonable belief one way or another, even if you disagree with them, and that's fine because disagreeing with people is important. Which is why that's another real-world skill that you get from debate too, which is the skill to question authority, the skill to rationally disagree with people, because I think that it's important that we value the truth of how the world works, because I think it's important for being engaged actors within the world. So I think it's important that debate kind of gives us those critical thinking skills. Um, I do think as well that debate has made me a better speaker, which I think is important in all aspects of life, because the competitive incentive to be as precise in what you're talking about as possible in front of a judge, so the judge knows exactly what's going on and that they can vote for you because you made things very clear to them, also makes it easier to speak in job interviews with people that you're trying to persuade, with family members. All of those things require the ability to communicate and to speak with clarity and confidence. Uh, I also feel that debate has enabled me to better settle disagreements and resolve problems on an everyday level and make decisions. I find that it's much easier to get my point across and rationally resolve a disagreement because you get so used to valuing argument. Uh, it's essentially valuing a control argument over a shouting match. Because I think when a lot of people argue, it just reduces to a shouting match of conflicting assertions and people getting super heated. While some Lincoln Douglas debates can get very heated, I think that debate has gives people or has a strong potential to teach people the virtue of controlled argument and trying to go through things in like a cool and logical and rational manner, not overreacting at people, etc. Um, I could go on and on for hours about how important I think debate is to the real world, but I guess the last benefit I'll mention is that um, I think that debate's really helpful for academics because it gives you like the reading, writing, and critical thinking skills that are required when you're taking tests, when you're writing papers. Also, having a lot of debate success can help you out in terms of getting into college. That's why I had sought out Wake Forest as being my top choice school because they have an excellent debate program, and I'm hoping to be one of their recipients of the Presidential Scholarship for debate because I feel that that will help me significantly with affording college, and I would love to participate in both their academics and also the people that are there, and also their debate team.
All right, on a larger scale, do you feel as though like teaching people the value of the argument in more developing countries could actually help them prevent themselves from further human rights abuse by speaking out against like their government or anything they don't believe in?
Well, I can't claim to be an expert on on developing country politics. I can say for one thing that people in developing countries and all over the world who have been uh, marginalized by injustice sort of have the will to resist that oppression and marginalization. I don't think that someone needs formal debate training to know that they are experiencing an injustice and that they need to speak out and resist and collectively organize. I do, however, believe that debate training can be helpful for sort of systematizing and sorting out one's views about the world, forming a perspective, an ideology of sorts, being able to improve and constantly develop logic of one's argument, being able to anticipate counter arguments, being able to confidently speak and question authority. Like all of those things are super important for being able to improve your situation. But I wouldn't say that absent formal debate training, that people in terrible situations are passive about those situations. I'm sure that there are so many people who are going through terrible situations in the world and have certainly made an effort to resist that in some way and to collectively organize.
All right. So do you know of any debaters who have like gone from debate to do more in the world? Well, like either gain success. Like I realized that there's one in the Forbes 30 under 30 list, I think, or
Oh yeah, that's pretty. Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that. I had heard that there was a college policy debater, Lawrence Tribe, who ended up becoming the defense lawyer for a Guantanamo detainee in front of the Supreme Court. Uh, I also can recall Jonathan Massey, who was a college policy debater and went on to coach both LD and policy debate. And I think he definitely did some things for the LDers, like he like judged debates and stuff. But he became a pretty successful lawyer. Um, I hope in my lifetime that I become a professional historian, and I feel that debate sort of gave me the grounding to eventually become that because history is political and it also requires that you make inferences and be thoughtful and have some kind of understanding of what you value in this world. So I think that that's why I'll be well suited to be a historian. Um, Also because I think that as a historian, it'd be imperative of me to try my best to be a historian of the present and connecting historical analysis to contemporary issues. So I think debate has given me the skills to start out with all of that. Um, as far as other examples go, I'm not too familiar with every single example of people having participated in debate and then gone on to do excellent sorts of things. But yeah, I think that debate definitely gives people the potential to go on in their lives and do like excellent things. So,
all right, so that's about it.
sounds good. All right, I'll stop the broadcast.